It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Year 30.
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Tuesday, and I tell you, I can already smell the Thanksgiving turkey from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Sweet and Spicy Toilet Paper.
Yum.
Because life is, well,
No.
you need...
Don't even.
I mean, life
You
needs... Okay, I don't know why you would need this.
I know one reason. A gag gift for Christmas.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. Still waiting to hear from Dave. I haven't heard from him in a while. Dave from San Francisco. He used to call us and harass us all the time. Now Trump is president, haven't heard from him. Now Greg in Laramie, our liberal friend there, he called. He was fine. He's okay. He wasn't under the bed sucking his thumb like I thought. He can deal. As a liberal, he can actually deal with a Trump administration. Don't know about Greg, though. So he's one that I'm waiting on and worrying about. Okay, so here's some good news for you to start your day. This is something that it would have worked during the Biden administration. They have done that. In fact, Harris could have been elected president if she had done this. Trump has picked a border czar, as you know. That border czar will be visiting the border, I believe, today. Now, he's not officially on the clock yet. He hasn't really been given the job yet. It's just that Trump is promising the job. He's still got to go through Senate confirmation, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not like he's getting paid for this. But he's in line to get the job and probably will. So he's going to head down and have a look at the border, which... Remember when Biden made Harris the border czar, even though the media called her the border czar for months, and then when she didn't do anything, denied that she was ever, lied, of course, and denied that she was ever the border czar, even though they called her that for months. And she never went to the border, never did a thing. And they tried to convince us, not just the White House, but the media, that she was working diligently on this. And she wasn't. Finally, when she was running, well, she did go to the border before she ran for office, finally, but she never really got near where any of the problems were. So it was just to try to shut up critics, which didn't work. While running for president, Harris finally went to the border. But even then, it was highly staged. She walked around some razor wire, talked to some people who were in uniform, but she really never went to where the problem was, never saw the problem. This guy, in this case, in fact, if I remember right, even Biden went to the border at one point, finally, to shut up critics. And even still, they brought him to an area that had been cleaned out, sanitized. He never really saw the problem. Wonder, just your thoughts on this, would they have Biden or Harris ever changed their minds if they were brought to a place where they could see the real problem? There's a story yesterday that I watched. A little girl, a tiny little girl, showed up all by herself. She was with a caravan, traveling with the caravan all by herself. Basically, her parents sent her out there. And I think she had a piece of paper with the list of names of people she was supposed to contact when she got to the United States. But she arrived all by herself. And Border Security is talking to this little girl. Really? You traveled all that way by yourself? She was just in the caravan. I guess maybe people in the caravan made sure she was fed. Not sure how that was going to work. Tiny little girl. Little squeaky girl voice. Probably it looked like a first grader to me. This is the kind of stuff that's going on at the border, besides the gangs and human trafficking and the drugs and, all of that. So here's Trump's pick for border czar. He doesn't have the job officially yet. And yet he's actually going to go to the border. Now, what do you want to bet when he goes to the border? He's going to go to where the problem really is, or problems. And I wonder, will the news media this time actually follow him and this time actually report on what the problem really is? Like to see them do that for once. Wouldn't that be great? To finally get some news out there. But, come to think of it, now that I say this, I'm not so worried about the news media anymore because I'm with those other people. I've been watching this for years and talking about for years alternate forms of media bubbling up under the surface. And those alternate forms of media, I think this time, are actually taking over from legacy media. The change is not complete, but we are real close to it. It's happening now, where people are turning to alternate sources of media rather than the same legacy media, which I told you I turned that off a long time ago. Sometimes I tune in out of curiosity to see what legacy media is doing. And by that, I mean your Fox News, your CNN, your MSNBC, your NBC, ABC, but also your New York Times, your Washington Post. And so I go looking at them to see your USA Today just to see what they're doing. But for the most part, I have quit watching them, looking to them for real news anymore because I gave up on them a long time ago as garbage. Now, there's still a lot to watch out for with new media. There's a lot of garbage out there too, but if you are selective, if you're careful, do not get yourself into an echo chamber. You can, go ahead and look at news sources that are saying things that you don't want to hear, but it's true. Those are the people who will really report on what this new border czar is going to see. When he heads down there, he's going down there to see the real deal. And the actual news reporting is not going to come from the old legacy media. I used to call them, years ago, I called them the obsolete media. And I think now that actually sticks. That actually fits. Morning, John. Alrighty, John is up in Granite Canyon. By the way, John, I drove by your area thinking about you last week. I was heading out to explore the town, what was left of the town. I wrote an article about it that'll appear soon. Arlington, Wyoming, if you know where that is. I wanted to see if anyone was still living out there anymore. That's along I-80 heading toward Elk Mountain. And as I drove up and over I-80, I went past the town of Beaufort, and now I'm looking over there. I wonder if John's out there today. So anyway, Chet and Yoder says the girl was 2 years old. Okay. So not even kindergarten yet, right? I-80 John says, morning, Glenn. Not sure what you have on the agenda today. If you're up for a firestorm, bring up zipper merging. Cheyenne Facebook is blowing up. Bring up zipper merging. I don't know what that's in reference to. I can try to look it up, but I haven't. Yeah, I really don't know what that's in reference to. If you can give me a little bit of a clue, I'll go ahead and check that out. I'll also go ahead and check out, the Rants and Raves on Cheyenne Facebook or something like that? I'll see if I can find that. But okay, thanks, Chet. I thought I heard that girl was 2 years old, and I wasn't sure if that was correct. But yeah, 2-year-old girl all by herself. I'm really going to be interested to see and hear what the border czar has to say, the new border czar, after he spends some time actually for once touring the border and showing the American people what's really going on down there, which is something the Biden administration absolutely did not want to do.
Welcome to Woke Radio WOK. Let's look at today's calendar and see what we're offended by. Or you can go outside and play it by ear. Just make sure everybody feels as miserable as you.
He's not, but his pants are on fire. Could someone grab an extinguisher? Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
It's time, Wake Up Wyoming Tuesday. Remember now, it's a fake week, because most people are doing very little work today and almost no work tomorrow. Okay, so real quick, if you're just joining me, I was bragging about Trump's nomination. Just nominated so far for border czar, already going to the border to see the real deal. And I'm interested to see how the fake legacy media reports this. Now, as John tried looking up, Googling zipper method. The only thing I see involving traffic is as people are supposed to merge into one lane using the zipper method. That's about the only thing I could see. So what controversy you're talking about, I don't know. Couldn't find anything on Facebook. So let me know where you found that and what you're talking about. I'll go ahead and take a look at it. Let's go to Montana real quick. A senator in Montana, according to Cowboy State Daily, is pushing to get the Redskins logo back into sports. This was a big fight a while ago. A story says a modern era mass Indian removal is coming to an end, argue those fighting to return Native American imagery to sports team brands, and recent efforts by a Montana Senator Steve Daines, to restore the former Washington Redskins logo for the NFL franchise. And some people, even in the American Indian community, saying he's not going far enough, he needs to fight harder. That's how the story says at least one American Indian group describes the current political squabbling over what's accepted when it comes to the appropriate American Indian symbols, like the logo for the former Redskins, now rebranded the Washington Commanders, which I never thought they should have changed that, like you with a lot of people, because of the history behind it. The name of the group is the Native American Guardians Association, or NAGA. And NAGA, to me, it sounds like a women's group, mainly wives, NAGA. But anyway, Monday they said the Commanders, along with Major League Baseball Cleveland Indians, are the two highest profile professional sports teams to abandon their American Indian logos. From Cleveland's cartoonish chief, Wahoo, to the regal rendering of the Blackfoot chief, that's synonymous with the Redskins name. Native American symbols is in sports, while they're various, different kinds. They vary wildly, as do opinions, the story says, about the best way these people can, gain cultural access to represent them across the country. So on November 19th, this senator ended his blockade on funding to pay for the refurbished Commanders' former stadium because the senator said he was satisfied with the ongoing negotiations with the team, and he felt optimistic about getting the old logo back. Now, this, if you remember, the logo originally was inspired by Blackie Wazell 1971 and modeled after Blackfeet tribal leaders in Montana, and prominently Chief Two Guns Whitecalf is his name. That was his name, Two Guns Whitecalf. Great name. The team had also committed to never again censor their logo on merchandise, anything like that, but they caved in at some point. So who's offended by this? And I remember at the debate at the time as to who's offended by this. Well, not American Indians, that's for sure. During the public opinion polls taken between 2016 and 2020, show somewhere between 50% and 90% of American Indians are not at all offended by the Redskins name. In fact, the whole thing was, the logo was even designed by an American Indian. 4 years later, researchers at the University of Michigan and University of California, Berkeley, produced findings that contradicted the 2016 study, saying, oh no, there are people offended by this. Well, not people who are American Indians. Anyway, so the battle is on to bring the logo back. And I'm personally in favor. Let's see how far he can go with this. There's a picture here of the senator on the floor of the U.S. Senate making his case as he talks about, there's even a picture here, a photograph of Chief Two Guns Whitecalf, again, great name, and a picture of the logo, and it's, the logo pretty much looks like him, like a younger version of him, and it was even approved by the chief, by the tribe. So the idea that we should take it down because somebody said that they were offended, well, yeah, tribes, especially those out west and even in Montana, would love to see that logo come back. So let's see, with all the things that people are fighting about in the coming 4 years, let's see if they win this one. Because you want to drive the left even more crazy as if it's possible for them to go even more crazy than they are now. And let's start returning some names like this that were taken away. That logo and the name of the Chiefs was a compliment, not an insult, not cultural appropriation. It was a compliment. And American Indian tribes across America found themselves very proud of it. They liked it until some group came along and said, you can't do that because that's offensive. Originally, I remember that the Washington Redskins had said they were never going to change the logo. And I thought, well, whoopee, I hope you stick by it. And they didn't stick by it. They caved in at some point. So let's see if he gets it back. Curious, the Senator's fighting for it. Coming up on some local news we have to take care of, then that weather forecast, which includes Don Day's forecast if you're traveling over the next couple of days, because there's a couple of mildly hazardous days, and then it gets nice just about the time you arrive and don't need to travel anymore. We'll talk about that, and his extended forecast comes your way at 6:45. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Wake up, Wyoming. Glenn Woods is live on AM 1030 K2 Radio and the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
6:36 at the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay. Once again, I was going to go on to something else, but you guys are dragging me back, and that's okay. So, talking about a couple of different topics here. This is I was about to say North Dakota. A Wyoming... I'm still getting it wrong. Let me do this one more time. A Montana senator, thank you. God, where the brain went. A Montana senator is trying to get back the name for the Washington Redskins. And they got some skin in the game up there in Montana, especially because I believe that the Indian chief for the Washington Redskins was from Montana. But trying to fight back against this whole idea, we can't have any names after American Indians. People are offended, and nobody in the tribes are really offended. Not many, anyway. Greg from Cheyenne says, Glenn, perhaps even the North Dakotas will return to the Fighting Sioux. That would be a great idea. Once again, let's honor the Sioux tribe and name a team after them. Great idea. And for those people who say that they're offended, well, you're wrong. So how about that? Tumbleweed in KC... I had mentioned that there was the border czar, the new border czar that we will get. He doesn't actually have the job yet. He was nominated by Trump, or Trump says, I want this guy. Now he's got to be cleared by the Senate. But he's actually going to go to the border, I believe today, to actually see the border. And not some kind of press thing where they clear everybody out and sanitize it, and this person never actually gets to see what's going on. He's actually going to go where the problems are. Gee, if only the Biden administration had done it. If only Harris had done that. Well, okay. Tumbleweed says, mainstream media reports at border. The border sure has gotten bad since Trump was elected. We never saw it like this under Biden. I'm sure that's how they'll do it, yeah. I remember we were told not talk about misinformation and fake news. Because I keep hearing, this misinformation that we get out there. We've got to deal with misinformation. Well, how about telling us that the border was secure? That's the Biden administration, and that's your news media as well, telling us that the border was secure when we know it's not. Okay, let me see. Sheepdog and Casper Morning. He said, more proof you can't appease them into silence. And that would be dealing with the names of teams, right? Because even when we give them what they want, they're still screaming about something. So you can't appease them into silence. Jim in Casper says, the only people that are offended are the white virtue signaling commie woke idiots that think men can get pregnant. And I think you're pretty much right about that. But here, once again, there's a group that has to yell and scream and complain about every little thing. And he's right. If you try to appease them, it doesn't work. Even if you solve the problem, it doesn't work. They still need to be offended by something because this is what they do. Which is why at some point, I used to try, when I met people like this, I would try to reason with them. I would try to argue with them, debate them. I mean, name a tactic. I tried it, even appeasing. Didn't work. Nothing works. They just keep going, which means they are about controversy and conflict and also accusing other people of horrible things so they can feel superior. And I think that's what gives them that sense of superiority, which they seem to need in order to exist. They have to constantly be accusing other people of horrible things, which, by the way, they're usually guilty of themselves. So, yeah, I'm all in favor of taking names of different teams that used to be named after American Indians, to name one. And they even try to do things like, were they ever successful with the Fighting Irish? Because I know they wanted to go after that one too. And my answer would be let them be the Fighting Irish, whatever team that is. I'm not a sports fan, I don't know. But I remember that was a controversy for a while. And the answer is no, we're not changing it. And if you don't like it, don't go to the games. Which, by the way, we know you don't go to the games anyway. So, yeah, why would we care? We know that people who are complaining about this don't go to the games anyway. So why would we care what you think about it? They literally don't have any, skin in the game. By showing up, I mean skin. You don't look up in the stands and see those people in the stands, do you? You don't find the same people who are complaining never turn on the television to watch a game. And yet they'll complain about it. Well, since you're not a fan, since you never show up, since you don't support us financially in any way, we don't care what you think. I think would be the perfect attitude. Instead of giving in, appeasing. I know, though, that a lot of the pressure was these activist groups went after the advertisers and embarrassed the advertisers out of advertising, which is why many of these teams caved in because they need that source of income. Well, let's fight back on that for once. For once. All right. We do have holiday travel today, tomorrow. Don Day's extended forecast delves into that. It's Wake Up Wayne.
The best talk show host in the state, within his price range. Tune in to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays at 6.
Frank Gambino is waiting by. So, Frank, when it comes to Thanksgiving, are you going anywhere?
I haven't figured that out yet, but I probably will.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where.
Family or restaurant?
No, and maybe.
Okay.
Well, no, I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay,
I will figure it out. I promise.
Okay, well, I've got a group of people that I'm going to be with, in Cheyenne, and a friend of mine owns a restaurant, so we're all just going to meet there, do a big buffet thing.
Well, that works perfect.
Sure.
Yeah,
Now,
because you know why? You're not cooking,
well, I always
and
work
you're
that
not
out.
washing dishes.
I always work it out that way. I don't do those things, but I will, though, usually provide something. However, normally what I do, Frank, is I will turn to a friend of mine who's a really good cook and say, I'll pay for it, but you're doing all the work.
Yeah, and he says, no,
he's fine. No, he's good with that.
Yeah.
And
he's
so
gonna
is
take
everybody
money.
else.
Oh, they're going to chip in and pay him.
I pay for the food, and then he does all the work. I don't even see any dishes, and everybody's good with that. Okay, now, this time, though, I don't have that opportunity.
Oh.
So I thought, well, I should show up with at least a casserole. So I've decided this is the kind of casserole that I can handle making, and I think you would approve of. Okay.
What's in the casserole?
Ingredients: 1 bag of plain M&Ms.
Yeah.
1 bag of peanut M&Ms. 1 bag of almond M&Ms, and 1 bag of peanut butter M&Ms. Now, do not preheat the oven.
No, no.
Do not grease the pan.
No.
Pour half a bag of each into the casserole dish. Stir gently for about, like a minute, until they're all appropriately mixed together evenly. Pour the other half of each bag in. Stir gently. Repeat. Right. Dish is now ready to serve. Do not forget pot holders. Right.
Yep.
It says serves 20. I doubt that. You must be an experienced cook, it says, to master this recipe. So, that's what I'll bring.
Well, you know what? I'm glad there's an M&M casserole. To be honest with you, I am tired of casseroles.
Yeah. See,
Thanksgiving. I mean, who eats that stuff?
I do. Oh, I no,
You
I
like
do.
casseroles?
I do love the casserole at Thanksgiving. Now, the rest of the year you can skip it.
Yeah.
But there's certain dishes. It's kind of like when you have sweet potato pie.
Right. Yeah.
I love it at Thanksgiving. Stuffing. I love stuffing at Thanksgiving. I don't want it the rest of the year.
I
But
like stuffing.
I love stuffing. Once a year.
All year.
Oh, you want it every day?
Oh,
we
yeah.
can certainly
yeah.
arrange that
Yeah,
for you, Frank.
With gravy and everything. Men's college basketball, the Wyoming Cowboys in Cancun today to meet Tulane from New Orleans. The Pokes are 4-1 after a 3-point win over Southeastern Louisiana back on Friday in Laramie, a game that neither team shot the ball all that well. The Pokes will have a got to get better from the free throw line, as the level of competition they will play in January and beyond will be significantly better than the non-conference slate they've had. Tulane is 4-2 on the year after an overtime loss to New Orleans. It's the first meeting between these two schools in basketball in 42 years. And that will be a 4 p.m. start from Cancun today. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KCGY in Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team in Puerto Rico for a tournament this week. They will take on Drake on Thanksgiving Day at 11:30 Mountain Time. Cowgirls are 2-3 after a big win over Colorado Christian back on Friday morning. After playing Drake on Thursday, the Cowgirls will take on Norfolk State on Friday and Virginia on Saturday. College football, the dreadful season for the Wyoming Cowboys will come to an end on Saturday with a road game at Washington State. Pokes are 2-9. They went 1-5 at home this season after a 17-13 loss to nationally rated Boise State on Saturday in Laramie. It was a much better effort on defense on Saturdays compared to the rest of the season, but the offense was stuck in neutral, especially after quarterback Caden Anderson went down with a head injury in the first half and did not return in the second half. He is listed anywhere from doubtful to questionable this week, so it looks like Evan Swoboda is going to get another chance, and he's just endured a terrible year. Washington State is 8-3. They have lost back-to-back 3-point games to New Mexico and Oregon State. The Cougars are favored by 17 in the game, which is a 4:30 start from Pullman on Saturday. We'll have that game for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. Junior college volleyball, Eastern Wyoming from Torrington went 2-0 at the national tournament in Clarksville, Tennessee last week. They lost to eventual national champion Southwest Florida and Weatherford, Texas. Lancers did finish the year at 26-11. They got a great season from the Libero, Cheyenne East grad Bowdoin Lilydale. Colby, Kansas finished third at the national tournament, and Madison Foley from Burns was a member of that team. And that's in sports.
Okay, so Brendan is listening to us out of Greeley, Colorado. Listens every day. And I'm about to lose Brendan as a listener.
Why?
I'm sorry. Well, Brendan writes...
He doesn't like M&Ms?
In my recipe, you forgot the Skittles.
There's no Skittles
no.
with M&Ms.
No, I don't even like Skittles. I've tried.
I like Skittles, but there's you can't mix that much sugar with different kind of sugar.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way. But also, I don't like Skittles. So, in my casserole... No damn Skittles. In fact, to tell you what, Brendan, you can have all the Skittles for yourself.
Well, yeah.
Okay, I'm just not.
Let's just ban casseroles.
It doesn't work.
Ban.
It doesn't mix. Skittles and M&Ms don't mix. There's something in the space-time continuum that goes when you do that. It doesn't work. Okay?
Right.
All right, thank you, Frank. Glad we agree on something anyway. Coming up on... I'm sorry, Brendan. Coming up on some local business, we have to take everyone roll into news time after that. Oh, and we'll go to North Carolina next because once again, someone has proven how bad government is at helping people. I mean FEMA after the hurricane. You're going to love this story, but it's after news and weather and all of that. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
You're 30.
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and I swear I can smell the turkey from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Sweet and Spicy Toilet Paper. Because life is, life needs...
No.
Okay, I don't know why you would need this.
Except as a gag gift come Christmas time, which I just might do.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. Okay, before I get into this, I suddenly realized I should go ahead and open up the Thanksgiving folder, which I always do the day before Thanksgiving, but even the day before Thanksgiving, which would be today, if you follow me on all of that. Well, of course, when it comes, in fact, I haven't looked yet. Hang on, let me do this for you. Let's see. I'm going to type in PETA Thanksgiving. I haven't heard anything from them so far this year on Thanksgiving, but let's see what say PETA 22 hours. Okay, PETA protests Biden turkey pardon. So you want us to eat the turkey then? Okay. And here's from the PETA organization. PETA is taking action for animals this Thanksgiving, and you can too. Gosh, ahead of this year's Thanks Vegan celebration, PETA is urging people across North America to choose a compassionate holiday feast. Oh, I am. I'm putting a bird out of its misery. Each year, approximately 46 million turkeys are killed and served for Thanksgiving. Turkeys are playful, intelligent individuals who protect their flocks and bond with humans. And some turkeys live on farms. Sanctuaries have been known to choose their favorite people. Well, I often choose my favorite bird, too, as I'm loading my plate. But anyway, in the meat industry, turkeys are killed when they're only 3 to 5 months old. Oh, okay. That sounds about right. Oh, here's even a billboard. It shows a turkey. Please let me live. Think before you eat. Go vegan this Thanksgiving. Yeah, okay. Well, here are some of the ways PETA has helped to make Thanksgiving better for all animals. And they talk about billboards that they put up. Oh, my God. You go to some gas stations, you're pumping your gas, and the sign over the pump is a vegan Thanksgiving. Please go vegan for Thanksgiving. Okay. And then there's other protesters out there. I really haven't heard, until I just now looked it up, I haven't heard anything about them this year. But you know how Thanksgiving goes at my house.
Mommy, why is Thanksgiving your favorite holiday?
Oh, because Thanksgiving is when America comes together to show what the American spirit is all about. All across the nation, people kill animals and eat them, waving giant middle fingers at PETA.
So I don't understand. I mean, what
You
is?
see, real Americans don't like to be told what to do by a bunch of tofu-eating hippies.
Yeah, but
So we take a goose or a pig or a big bird like this turkey,
Yeah,
and we stuff it full of stuffing like this.
What?
Then we shove it in a hot oven like so.
But Mom, I mean, shouldn't you have killed the bird dead before you did all that?
Oh, honey. Your father and I like our meat fresh.
This special Thanksgiving holiday message was designed specifically to hack off the condescending long-haired tofu-eating hippies that try to make us meat-eaters feel guilty this time of year. We hope that you enjoy the organic cardboard that you're eating this holiday. In the meantime, we're cooking our fresh kill on coal.
So, yeah, we're all ready for the Thanksgiving holidays here with some dead animals. Oh, Mike from the video stream Lead, South Dakota. I want to see a president feed the turkeys to the homeless. Be better use of them, wouldn't it?
On today's special holiday episode of Raw Vegan Cooking, I'll be showing you how to prepare a raw vegan holiday turkey so you can enjoy your holiday meal just like normal people while still being better than them. Our turkey prep involves assembling our turkey out of mouth-watering raw vegan ingredients. If nature didn't screw up by making turkeys out of turkey meat, it would have wisely made turkeys out of tofu. It's a hormone-disrupting delight that embodies the word plain in exquisite detail. So we'll pick up the slack and improve on Mother Nature's stupid ways by using tofu to incarnate our turkey into this world. For the neck, we'll use a carrot. They're always effective cervical substitutes. We'll use a tomato as a substitute for the turkey head, and we'll use the inside of the tomato as a substitute for the brain. For the beak, we'll use the ace up the plant kingdom's anti-inflammatory sleeve, ginger, sliced. Turkey legs are everyone's favorite, but because tofu doesn't have legs, we'll substitute in broccoli drumsticks. Wooden skewers make excellent hip socket substitutes. We'll use kale for wings, just like normal turkeys will have once they evolve out of the filthy animal kingdom into the plant kingdom. #vegan. And an assortment of rosemary and dill picked fresh from my garden will make excellent feathers. Now we have our turkey.
There you go. That's Thanksgiving for you. That sounds delicious, doesn't it? God, it must be depressing, especially if you're at a liberal household where they've decided to celebrate Thanksgiving, but they have to feel guilty and miserable and superior about everything. So imagine what it's like to join in that gathering. If that's what you're into. Now, people have been asking me, and I do it every single year. First off, every year, there's always the WKRP in Cincinnati turkey drop that I have to play on air. So that's tomorrow. I do that. That's a tradition on this program. One of the funniest episodes WKRP ever did was the turkey drop episode, and I have that ready to go. Also, every single year, I have to tell my neti pot story, which every year people ask me, please, for the love of God, don't tell the neti pot story this year, which just eggs me on and makes me want to tell it all the more. So I will tell the neti pot story. It's one of the last things I do. So you know what portion of the program to avoid tomorrow is when I get into near the end of the program, I tell the neti pot story. Every single year, it is a tradition. If you're wondering, what is the neti pot story? You'll have to wait till tomorrow. If you don't know what a neti pot is, look it up. Trust me. Oh, yeah. I should put that on Facebook. Which one? The Thanksgiving pita with the kid or the vegan turkey one? I'm not sure. A lot of this stuff, though, you can listen to if you go to the Wake Up Wyoming app. Touch on demand. Touch Wake Up Wyoming. Touch on demand. And when it comes up, Miss Mary has made a couple of seasons, if you will, of Wake Up Wyoming skits. And I'm trying to remember, Miss Mary, is any of the Thanksgiving one in those? If not, we should insert that in there.
Almond milk? Who bought almond milk? That's not a thing, is it? I mean, you can't get milk from almonds. Almonds don't even have udder.
Yep, there you have it. A new level of crazy. And you heard it here first. Serious takes on local politics. Or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Change the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. I'm looking at the ridiculously large television they put in the studio with me here. And they're talking about 80 million people expected to travel for this holiday weekend with record air travel. And right now I'm thinking Greta Thunberg must be going, how dare you? Because all of you people will be driving all over the place, flying all over the place. Oh, my Lord. How dare you do that? While your carbon footprint, and then you're going to sit down and eat meat. All right, let me get on to something else for a minute here. Let's go back to Hurricane Katrina, all right? At the time, I was on air at the time talking about the aftermath of it and how so many people waited for government help that never arrived, and they died. Especially those people that were told, if you can get to the stadium downtown, go there and wait. And government never showed up. Now, to give credit to those people who did well, National Guard and other such rescuers showed up en masse and were very good at finding people and rescuing them. So first responders, God bless you. But and the rest of government, especially FEMA, oh my Lord, what a mess afterwards. And years afterwards, areas that the governments had spent billions of dollars to revitalize never got revitalized. They're still a mess to this day. Places that might have gotten fixed up cost way too much money to do it. But those evil corporations like Walmart and Kmart and Home Depot moved into the area quickly and got whole neighborhoods back on their feet again. Get a load of this story. North Carolina, as you know, because of the hurricane, whole towns were devastated as all those waters went flooding through really tight areas in the mountains. Now, for the record, this is not the first time something like this has happened. Asheville, North Carolina has been flooded out by hurricanes in the past, way in the past. This is not a new thing. Okay, it does happen occasionally up there, and if you understand the way those mountains are shaped and how they're built, it's understandable how that happens. It can be a dangerous place to live when there's just too much wet. So here are these devastated communities, and FEMA didn't even have enough money to show up with and has not been doing a good job. Sorry, FEMA, but no. Amish volunteers built 100 tiny homes for hurricane victims quickly. So a bunch of Amish people who showed up because their religion tells them, help your fellow man, showed up and quickly constructed just a whole bunch of little tiny homes, like 100 of them, 100 plus really. Boom, done. Here's temporary places for you people to live while you're getting back on your feet, which FEMA could have done. Back during Hurricane Katrina, it wasn't just New Orleans that was devastated. There were all other towns that were wiped out. And if you remember, FEMA had huge parking lots filled with little trailers, like single wides, but about half the length of a single wide, but just little trailers that they could pull up and say, here's a temporary house. And they never distributed them. And eventually those temporary homes started getting moldy because it's the South, and they had to be demolished. All right, so here's the story. After Hurricane Helene, which left untold thousands in western North Carolina residents homeless, volunteer Amish carpenters showed up to build temporary shelters, but their heartwarming story has a bitter end. Oh, here we go. You can already imagine what the end is. There's a couple of stories that it says mainstream media, but now let's call them the obsolete legacy media, has reported on. It hasn't reported on much. First is that FEMA, for whatever reason, has not been up to the task after the hurricane destroyed and damaged about 100,000 homes in western North Carolina, impacting about 200,000 people. People are living in trailers or tents or anything all this time later. All right, so any news organizations or networks, by the way, they showed a video here of how bad things are, but news networks are really not showing much of the devastation this far out afterwards. They've pretty much forgotten about it. So Western North Carolina residents reported last month that their area, one group, so their area had 56 passenger bus load of groups of skilled Amish carpenters coming down from Lancaster, PA last week to help build homes for, they call it cabins for Christ. They were doing their bit, they said, helping people and doing what they could, bringing supplies. These Amish are about 100% self-sufficient. They don't need government money or anything like that. They just showed up with the tools and got busy. According to another user on Twitter or X, Scott Presler helped make sure all those volunteers voted early in Pennsylvania before they trekked down to North Carolina, by the way. Okay, so they teamed up with groups there, local groups there, other religious groups and carpenters, teamed up with the Amish. And the volunteers have been working 5-day shifts before swapping out for the next team of volunteers to keep everybody well rested. Nobody seems to know how many tiny homes were built, but it's easily over 100 within 5 days. Think about that. If a small team can build a home each week, there are hundreds of volunteers working for almost 4 weeks, so you can imagine how well this is all done, right? Breaking, Amish came to western North Carolina to build tiny homes for shelter victims. This is a post here. Local and state authorities kicked the victims out of those houses, saying it didn't pass code. Local and state authorities kicked the victims out of those homes saying it didn't pass code. I would tell them to stuff it, but okay. Because a tent, in late autumn weather, that's okay. If you're sleeping in your car or you put up a tent and here comes, it's already snowed up there in western North Carolina, that's okay. Another Twitter or X user told, some of the about some of the code enforcements out there. The bureaucrats quoted in releasing, their data as to why these places needed to be closed. That again, not up to code. Here are the codes that we're citing, basically. So, at this point, my blood's kind of boiling over the whole thing. I mean, how the hell? How the hell do you kick these people? That's not up to code. It's a shelter. And I would bet if the Amish are building it, it's just fine. And certainly better than a tent that some people are living in. And it's supposed to be a temporary shelter, by the way. Nothing is supposed to be permanent. So this is from Mitchell County, North Carolina government. Notice to local volunteers for temporary housing. It even says here temporary housing. If you are a local volunteer working to bring temporary housing to support our community, we first want to thank you for your efforts. Please remember that any temporary housing installation must comply with North Carolina's building and health codes to ensure safety and well-being for all. Before moving forward, please consult with local officials and development departments to verify that all installations are up to code. Please be I'm taking a look at some of the buildings that they did here. And basically, when you think of, you ever see a micro home? Just a little micro home. Or put it another way. You've seen these. You drive by a place that sells sheds, right? Little sheds. But some people take those sheds and turn them into little cabins out in the woods to camp in. You take one of those attractive little sheds and you make sure to put some insulation in there. Now, they really don't have anything for water right now or electricity. They will hook it up if they can get it, but mostly they don't. So basically, it's like putting up a little shed that you can see for sale at many places around where you live. And then let's go ahead and put some insulation in there and a few other little odds and ends to make it a little more comfortable. And that's a temporary shelter for somebody to live in, which is a hell of a lot better than a tent. And it even has a hardwood floor, so people are not standing on dirt. And they're raised up just a little bit off the ground, which is a good idea. So this is what North Carolina is coming around and saying, okay, these are not up to code, so we got to go ahead and we got to kick people out of there. In which case, I mean, if somebody told me, if someone from code enforcement showed up and said, you can't stay here, I could say what my response to them would be if I was in that situation, but I can't repeat those words on air. This is a good temporary shelter until we all get back up on our feet over here. What the hell are you thinking? In the meantime, what has FEMA shown up with? In the meantime, what has FEMA done? What has your federal government done? In the meantime, what has the state of North Carolina done? Because what I see is a bunch of people living in tents, sleeping in the back of abandoned cars, whatever they can do. Some old barn that managed to survive. Oh, that's okay. We can go ahead and do that. That's your federal government, and in some cases, your state government for you. In the meantime, some charitable organization shows up and does a good thing. Well, thank you for your work, but no. Sage Grouse, Morning Glen, local building codes are one reason there's a shortage of housing nationwide. I would just tell them, sorry, but I'm staying here. You can tell me no, but I'm going to stay here until I get a real house going again. Coming up on some local news that we have to take care of after local news update on the weather forecast. 7:45 Don Day's weather forecast, which includes your travel forecast, so we can upset Greta Thunberg just a little bit more, which is always fun. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
8:30.
If it matters in Wyoming, it matters to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Call Glenn at 888-97-WOODS and make your voice heard. AM 1030, K2 Radio.
Okay, we get to pick on Colorado again. For those people down in Colorado who are listeners to this program, I understand and sympathize, but when stories like this come up, I have to tell everybody about it. I'm sorry. And we all here in Wyoming understand what you're going through down there. And we hope that at some point we can turn it around for you. But okay. Headline. Colorado school bus driver left 40 children at wrong stop. Parents are furious. God. I wonder, did the kids not know to say, hey, this is not our stop? There's 40 of them. All right, here's the story. This author says, I'm not a parent, but I can imagine that 40 sets of guardians and parents are furious at one Colorado school bus driver. When I was a child, I had my fair share of interesting bus drivers and interesting experience. However, he says, my stories are quite insignificant compared to what these children experienced. Headline, Castle Rock bus driver has been fired. A substitute bus driver from Clear Sky Elementary, Castle Rock, has been fired because he dropped nearly all students off at the wrong stop. The location was not a drop-off point and was nowhere near many of the homes or destination. Again, I'm thinking, if there's 40 kids on the bus, I don't know what the age of the kids are, but you would think the kids would say, no, we don't go here. This is not, and I wouldn't, even at a young age, I wouldn't have gotten off the bus. This is not where I go. According to NBC, which we have to worry about the story because it's NBC News. But all right. The driver refused to leave the school until the students stopped talking. The driver claims their tablets, which provided directions, stopped working, and he stopped when 40 students walked off the bus. Another report by USA Today says the bus driver kept dropping off random children at random destinations. The bus driver reportedly asked the children for directions. So what happened here is still a little unclear. People are trying to figure this out because they're getting different stories from different people. The children were reportedly lost, afraid, cold. Of course, this time of year. They were also dropped off at unknown locations when it was dark out. Oh, God. Strangers saw the children outside and asked them for their parents' phone numbers to reunite them. Parents are trying to figure out exactly what happened. Well, I can tell you what happened. The bus driver's an idiot, but he's been fired. So the story of the school bus driver and the story of the children does not exactly line up. Parents are attempting to have a video of the bus ride released because, well, buses these days, a lot of them have cameras in them, so they can determine an accurate portrayal of what exactly happened on that cold November day. Okay. Well, I can see a lot going wrong here. Let's just start with we don't need to pick this apart too much. So let's just start with the bus driver. If the bus driver is unsure of the route, and I know he's got Google Maps and all this kind of stuff, but if he's not sure of the route, he should say before it goes, I really don't know where I'm going here. I'm going to need some help. But okay, the bus driver apparently gets lost. So if he gets lost, here's the next stupid thing. If I were the bus driver and I were new to the route and I found myself lost and I'm not sure where the stops are, I'm taking these kids back to the school. That's what I would do and say, I'm sorry, maybe I'm an idiot, I don't know, but I can't seem to find the route. I don't know where I'm dropping these kids, and I don't want them getting lost in the dark in November up in these cold conditions. So can we just call the parents? I know that's a huge inconvenience, but just to stop randomly and let kids off at random locations out in the middle of nowhere, please. Now, I still want to know, I don't know, the story doesn't say the age of these kids, but were it me, I would look and say, you want me to get out here? But it's dark out, and I don't know where this is. Why would I get out here in the dark when I don't know? You see, there's a lot of problems here. Bus driver has been fired. Parents are mad. They want to know what happened. Okay. That's Colorado for you. Now, disclaimer, that's not everybody in Colorado. There are quite a few Colorado listeners to this program that every time I tell a Colorado story, they go, oh, please, that doesn't represent us. And no, it doesn't. There's a lot of good people in Colorado. They've been living there all their lives, some of them for generations. These are good, decent people. It's just that, well, Colorado has been Californiaized, and they're sort of stuck there, and they don't exactly know what to do about it. Imagine if that level of stupid, stoned and stupid, moved in around you. What would you do? Some of you might be tempted to leave, which I understand. Some of you might be tempted to stay and fight for your state, which I understand too. Whatever the case is, I hope someday we can rescue Colorado from this insanity.
Hello. I finished my free trial of adulting. I'm no longer interested. I'd like to cancel my subscription. Is there a manager that I can talk to?
Admit it, you were hoping somebody would say that. Polish off that tin hat. You'll need it for this one. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Available on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
7:45 is the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day. Day weather. So, Don, at least it's not really snowing and icky outside. Well, okay, let's take the Y off and still just call it ick.
Yeah, and we do have some snow falling right now in the far south and the far west. Green River's picked up a couple inches of snow overnight, and that is mainly going to be where the action's going to be, in the west and the south.
Okay. So now this continues today, but now we've got to go through today and tomorrow for travel weather, which is still, do we attach the Y and make it icky again or just ick?
Yeah, no, it kind of icky, because especially when we start factoring the fact that it's going to be pretty darn chilly, even though the weather that we've got now, that's going to cause travel concerns. We're going to have this snow in the south and the west, and then certainly across Utah and Colorado if you're headed that way. Going to be a lot of winter weather in those locations and over the mountain passes through about, let's say, midday tomorrow. Then it's just going to be cold. Okay. Ick. Yeah, that's where the ick comes in, because it's going to be only in the 20s and lower 30s for highs for Thanksgiving Day, Thursday into Friday, and really not warming up at all for the weekend. So the cold is going to settle in for a little bit, although the worst of the cold is going to miss us.
Does that, if it settles in, does that wind finally die down?
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. You ask me that all the time, and you notice I never say yes.
Yeah, okay. But look, sometimes it's to my benefit, like when I'm driving with a nice tailwind, and I do save quite a bit of gas, especially when I cross those signs that say, gusting 40 mile an hour plus, and it's at my back. My thought is, great gas mileage. Other than that, I don't need the crosswind or anything like that. All right, now, when we get through and into the weekend, though, it's still cold.
Yeah, still cold. We're going to be under northwest flow aloft. We'll start to see some moderation in temperatures early next week, but when the winds aloft are coming in from the northwest, you can just know what it's doing up there. So that colder air out of Canada, and it's just the coldest air of the season. I mean, we're going to see some sub-zero temperatures early next week across the northern plains. You'll be hearing about in the news about a big outbreak of cold in the nation's midsection. Luckily for us, we're just catching the edge. We're not getting a direct hit, because if it was a little further west, we'd be talking about single-digit sub-zero temperatures early next week, but we won't. So, Yes, it'll be chilly, but it could be worse.
Okay, here's my plan to get through this then. Stay inside, lots of leftovers.
I think in football, I think you probably will have some people who will take you up on that.
All right. Thank you, Don. Don Day with Day Weather. So I try to get him out of the icky and just into the ick, but, it's not going to totally suck anyway. So, all right, let's head on over to the ice box where Frank Gambino is waiting by. So, okay, Frank.
Yes.
Since you're going to be sitting there with, if you were to go to a Thanksgiving event, you might be there with people that you don't like.
Right, but everyone will just find a place to avoid them.
That's why you sit in front of the television. I'm watching football. Don't bother me.
In the basement.
Yes, you're right. Okay.
I have, though,
just in case, I have a few good comeback lines for you.
Okay.
That'll help out. I'd love to stay and chat, but I'd rather have root canal surgery. See?
I've said that to many people.
Okay.
I'd rather have a root canal than do a lot of things I do.
Now, this is a good one. Your opinion is very important to me. Please hold. You keep rolling your eyes. Maybe you'll find a brain back there. That's a good one.
Do you want a peaceful Thanksgiving dinner?
No,
or do you want
we're beyond that.
war?
No, we're beyond that.
There are knives and sharp objects at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Glenn,
I do like this one. I've been called worse by better. That's a good one.
Yes.
Now I'm writing that one down. I don't have time or the crayons to explain this to you. Again, writing that one down. Sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of how awesome I am. That's good. I'm sorry. Did the middle of my sentence interrupt the beginning of yours?
Okay.
I believe in respect for the dead. In your case, silence.
This is too much for Thanksgiving.
Yes, it is. Okay.
It's supposed to be a happy time.
Yes, but we know that these things happen.
I know.
Beauty is skin deep, but ugly goes clean to the bone.
It
that's
does.
just an insult. Yeah. Let me see. I'd slap you, but that would be animal abuse. I would agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong. Oh, I like that one.
You thought about this for years.
No. There is a website filled with them. So all you have to do is just sit here,
and get on your phone and say, "Whoa, I got one more for you."
Yeah, no, see that's the thing. You don't have to memorize these, not anymore these days. Just pick up your phone, look at your phone, and scroll. Hold on, I got a good one for you. Here we go. Let me say this.
There you go. All right, in men's college basketball, the Wyoming Cowboys in Cancun today to meet Tulane from New Orleans in a tournament down there. Pokes are 4-1 after a 3-point win over Southeastern Louisiana back on Friday in Laramie, a game where neither team shot the ball all that well. Pokes have got to get better from the free throw line as the level of competition they'll play in January will be significantly better than their non-conference slate. Tulane's 4-2 after an overtime loss to New Orleans their last time out. This is the first meeting between these two schools in basketball in 42 years, and this will be a 4 p.m. start from Cancun today. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KCGY in Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team in Puerto Rico this week for a tournament. They'll take on Drake on Thanksgiving Day at 11:30 Mountain Time. Cowgirls are 2-3 after a big win over Colorado Christian back on Friday morning. They'll play Drake on Thursday. The Cowgirls will meet Norfolk State on Friday and Virginia on Saturday. College football, the dreadful season for the Wyoming Cowboys will finally come to an end on Saturday with a road game at Washington State. Pokes are 2-9. They went 1-5 at home this season after a 17-13 loss to nationally ranked Boise State on Saturday in Laramie. It was a much better effort on defense, but the offense was stuck in neutral, especially after quarterback Caden Anderson went down with a head injury in the first half and did not play in the second half. He is listed as anywhere from doubtful to questionable this week against Washington State, so it looks like Evan Swoboda is going to get another chance, and he's really had a tough year. Washington State is 8-3. They've lost back-to-back 3-point games to New Mexico and Oregon State. The Cougars are favored by 17 in the game. That's a 4:30 start from Pullman on Saturday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. Junior college volleyball, Eastern Wyoming from Torrington went 2-out at the national tournament in Clarksville, Tennessee last week. They lost to eventual national champion Southwest Florida and also lost to Weatherford, Texas. Lancers did finish 26-11. They got a great season from their libero and Cheyenne East grad Bowden Lillydahl. Colby, Kansas finished third at that national tournament, and Madison Foley from Burns is a member of that team, and that's it in sports.
Okay, so all I want out of UW is what they gave us last time.
A good effort.
Yes, if you're going to go down looking good.
Yeah, give me a play for some pride.
Yes.
It'd be for the seniors, their last college game.
Yes.
For other players, it'd be their last game in a Cowboy uniform. You know, so let's try to finish this thing on a high note. It'll make the winter go a little bit faster.
Yeah, I would
not much, but a little bit.
I would love to hear people walk away from the game. Well, they sucked, but they didn't look like they sucked as bad as they sucked.
Well, you know what? And that's the thing. Don't mail this in.
Oh yeah, right.
Don't mail the game in.
No.
Go and play your rear ends off to finish the season.
Your last chance to look good.
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Frank. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of. And after local business, we're going to roll into news time after that. And then, national news, local news update on the weather forecast. And you and I get back into it again. And I have a whole list of things I haven't even scraped the surface of. I'll go ahead and get into these topics with your help. You can text me. Just use the Wake Up Wyoming app. Hit the chat option. We are still having, trouble with the phones again. Getting that horrible screechy noise that was on it yesterday, which was not a liberal having a meltdown. It was, although it could be. It was just some noise on the phone that we got to clear it up, and we'll send someone in to fix it, and we'll get back to phone calls as soon as that can be fixed. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Tuesday, and I swear I can smell Thanksgiving from here.
Today's show is sponsored by sweet and spicy toilet paper. Because life is,
Yes.
well, you need, I mean, life needs.
All right.
Okay, I don't know why you would need this.
Because it's a gag gift for Christmas time. Trust me, it'll work.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. And, of course, tomorrow being the day before Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving Eve, I will have the WKRP Turkey Drop. We'll play on the air, as I do every single year. And, of course, I'll have to tell the neti pot story, which most people never want me to tell, but it's a Thanksgiving tradition.
Breaking news as we go live to a Turkey Lives Matter protest. Comes as no surprise before Thanksgiving, and many of the birds' chants included, "Eat more beef," and "Pork is good for you." We'll definitely keep you in the loop as this matter evolves. Stay tuned for more info.
Trying to keep you up to date on the latest here. Have you really heard? I read from the PETA website earlier this morning. But have you really heard anything about PETA this year? No, of course not. Mainly because it's all been overshadowed by Trump becoming our next president. So once again, thank you to Trump for that. I don't have to listen to PETA because he's just out shouting them.
Nah, I don't really eat it in the summer. I don't really eat it in the spring. Why is pie so perfect on Thanksgiving? Yeah, when was the time I last ate pie? I can't really remember. But I'm gonna eat about 8 pieces on the 4th Thursday in November. Give me some pie!
Just trying to get you into the Thanksgiving spirit. Okay, so, there will be a story coming up a little bit later on, either today or this week. I watched a movie. I put up a post for you guys, Thanksgiving horror movies, the top 7 Thanksgiving horror movies. And yes, there are actual movies out there that take place on Thanksgiving that are horror movies. They're really, really, really bad. I wouldn't even say B movies, like C movies. They're just horrible. But I did a special story today. This one is called Black Friday. Imagine, you've seen the Black Friday when all the people go pushing through the door of the big box store when they open up for Black Friday sales, and it's like watching a zombie horde. Well, imagine if they actually became a zombie horde. The movie is hysterical, and it's meant to be. It's supposed to be a funny movie. There's people who work at a big box toy store, and they are just mobbed by the usual that you see on Thanksgiving mobs. And as the people come in clamoring and over things, fighting over things, there is something that happens that actually makes them a zombie horde. It is absolutely hysterical. So that story will be up for you guys to watch. And I would recommend, Bruce Campbell's in it. And Bruce Campbell's done a lot of great horror movies. In fact, he was the producer of this movie. You might remember him from Evil Dead fame. And one of my favorite movies, Bubba Hotep. So, yeah, Bruce Campbell has done some really great, funny horror movies, and this one is absolutely hysterical. So if you want to see something for Black Friday, it's a movie called Black Friday. Funny. I watched it just the other night. Highly recommend it. All right, now, Portland. Let's go to Portland real quick. This is an activist, a young lady who she was trying to help homeless people, and good for her. And this young lady who's trying to help homeless people as a liberal activist doesn't understand how the real world works. Oh, real quick here. Greg from Cheyenne, are you going to play the classic Rush Limbaugh True Story of Thanksgiving? Yes. Yes, I will do that too. I will play that tomorrow. That's another thing I always play on Thanksgiving Eve. So, yeah, I always have to play that too. Because what Limbaugh did was either I tell the story or I go back and play what Limbaugh said, one of the others. But all right. So this woman who is has her heart in the right place. She's trying to help homeless people. And somebody steals her iPhone. Now, she's in a bit of a panic because these days, so much of people's lives are on their iPhones or just cell phones in general. And so she wants her phone back. And she's pleading with these homeless people to get her phone back. And here's what she says. She says to them, you can steal anything from rich scum. But she says, I'm a nice, honest person, and I need it back. So it's okay to steal from rich scum. Now, I'm going to try to play this on the air. It was recorded outside, and so it's a little bit noisy, but let's see if you can hear this. Because I think it's important to hear what she has to say, and we take a look at what she says to these people.
Scum, by all means, keep it and sell it, but basically, I am not, if you stole it from rich scum, by all means, keep it and sell it, but I'm like a really, And I want to say, if you guys come up with my iPhone, I will give you more than, I'm an honest person.
Okay, but you can steal from rich scum. All right. When I saw this, I thought about some years ago, there was a big controversy. New to the internet was putting music online, and people could just download music. And a lot of singers, artists out there were upset because people were downloading their music for free, and this is how these singers, bands even, make their living, is they sell music, selling records, things like that, right? CDs. So at the time, downloading music from online was new. And the fact that people were figuring out how to do it for free, the artists were creating all of this music and not getting paid for it. That's their living. And at the time, I had a young man working at the radio station with me that said it's okay to do that because these people are rich anyway. So I brought him into the studio, set him down on air. He agreed. I said, let me ask you, would you steal from me? And he said, no. Okay, well, let's say that I made, we'll say $200,000 a year. Is it okay to steal from me then? Or is it only okay to steal from me if I make $50,000 a year or $30,000? What if I made $1 million a year? Is it okay to steal from me then? What I'm looking for is, at what point am I making enough money that it's okay to steal from me? Because what we're really talking about here is it's not okay to steal from someone who's making not too much money or an average amount of money. But if somebody starts making too much money, as Obama said, even though Obama keeps making more and more money, Obama said at some point, I think you've made enough money, which is nonsense. At what point does someone make enough money that it's okay to steal from them? And so these artists were creating music, and they were putting the music online for sale, and hackers had found out how to download it for free. That's stealing from them. But it's okay in your eyes because they're rich enough? This young lady here who's talking to the homeless people, her idea is, if I was rich scum, and in her mind, all rich people are scum, you understand, then it's okay to steal her iPhone. But she's not rich, so it's not okay. Now, she even goes on to say that she considers herself a good, moral, decent, honest person. That's what she was saying to these homeless people. She said that. I don't think she is. Because in her mind, it's okay to steal from somebody as long as they make enough money. As soon as they cross some kind of a threshold in making money, they become scum in her eyes, and you're allowed to rip them off. I think it's a really great lesson as to where some of these people come from and where their moral standards will lie. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's not okay to steal from anybody. But that's the household I grew up in.
I know I said I'm an independent woman, and I don't need no man, but I really wish I had one to scrape snow off my car.
Admit it, you were hoping somebody would say that. Take Glenn anywhere with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:21's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, I have to read this. Mark is from some godforsaken hill just outside of Casper. I was just talking about, and I hope you were able to hear the audio. This is a woman activist trying to help homeless people, upset because someone homeless stole her iPhone. And it's okay, she says to them, if you steal from rich scum. But I'm not rich, so you can't steal from me, is her logic. So Mark says, it is the economic circle of life. The homeless steal from people in mobile homes and trailers, while those people are out stealing from people in base-level tract housing, while those people are stealing from people in McMansions, while those people are stealing from the truly wealthy, not the definition of normal people now, is it? Yeah. Kind of, you've heard that excrement rolls downhill. I guess that kind of rolls uphill, right? The answer is it's not okay to steal from anyone. Her idea, well, it's okay if I was rich scum, you can steal from them. No, you can't. It's just as bad as stealing from her. Don't steal. That's really it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we're living in the end times.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator. And while we're out, we'll mend our fences too. See, I'm not afraid of dying, just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
Okay, so this song, which I just love this. Okay, there is a picture here that I'm looking at, and there's some oil tankers out there, and there's a bunch of climate protesters who want to protest these oil tankers. So they all get out there. Now, some of you, as soon as I say this, you're going to catch it immediately. And they all get out there in their kayaks to surround the oil tanker and protest. Did you catch it? Yeah, the group Rising Tide provided an impressive showcase for plastics, which is made from petroleum. I'm looking at a picture here, and every single one of them is in a kayak, and there's hundreds of protesters out there surrounding this oil tanker, and they're all in plastic kayaks. Activist group Rising Tide says multiple people have been arrested for what they call anti-fossil fuel, should be organic fuel, to say it properly. In Newcastle, thousands have attended the multi-day process where Midnight Oil frontman Peter Garrett delivered a speech and performed something, I don't know. The demonstration is expected to continue all the way through Sunday evening. Several people have been arrested in a climate protest in Newcastle that involves hundreds of activists taking to the city's harbor in kayaks. Plastic. Petroleum. The demonstration, organized by the activist group Rising Tide, was advertised as a blockade of the world's largest coal port, so coal is being brought out of there as well. Rising Tide statement said multiple people were arrested, again, released without charge. What good is it to release them without charge, to arrest them and then release them without charge? That's not doing anything. Now, I am glad those kids that were throwing soup at famous paintings, things like that, they tried pouring a bunch of powder on the U.S. Constitution, which is heavily protected under layers of glass and so on. They were never going to get to it. They have been fined up to $58,000. So at least that's something, and we'll spend some time in jail. But make it real. Don't just catch and release. So let's take a look at the process here. So we have Australian coal. This is where this is happening, Australian coal. And then there's a coal ship. There's also an oil tanker out there as well. And then there's a petrochemical plant, okay, in order to make their kayak. There's the coal, the plastic factory, which builds the kayak. So you see what has to happen there. You have to have coal and the coal ship, and you have to have the oil ship carrying the petroleum, and then you have to have the factory, which spews out more CO2, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of that goes toward making kayaks, which they were protesting in. So if you want to not have a protest, I mean, you guys could have made your kayaks and canoes and so on out of wood, but then you got to go chop down trees, and that's bad too, huh? Unless maybe you want to find a tree that fell down by itself, you can go ahead and do that. I'm wondering, how do they expect to get out there in the water? I mean, if they use a rubber raft, petroleum again, they use a kayak, plastics, petroleum, and coal again. And so they cut down trees to make their boats out of wood, but they don't want to do that because, you know. So what exactly can they make if they're going to get out there in the water and protest? I suppose there's some way that they could do it that's not going to harm nature in their eyes. But do they? And I also have to ask the question, how did they get there? Well, in order to arrive, I mean, you're talking thousands of protesters showed up. How did they get there? Did they all arrive on bicycles? Which, by the way, the bicycles have rubber tires and also the metal for the bicycle frames. So you're talking more coal and petroleum. And did they walk there? Well, their sneakers and so on still have. Okay, that's not going to work either. So, all right, how did they get there? Did some of them fly there? Did some of them drive there? And in order to deliver, they had to show up with all of the kayaks and all of the other material, protest banners, stuff like that. Oh, if they're going to make banners, they have to paint the banners, which is more petroleum products. But in order to deliver everything there, including the people, well, you're talking more petroleum and coal, right? Okay. And yet they don't seem to get this. This is the same. Remember, they just got done with the COP 29, which is the UN meeting every single year to fight climate change. At COP 29, there was a guy who walked around with his video camera showing it was lunchtime, right? And there were people standing in long lines to get burgers, to get hot dogs. There were a couple of cafeterias that were open serving meat at this climate summit. And there was one area in the food court that was serving vegan food. Now, can you guess which line was by far the shortest line? Right. Yeah, the vegan line hardly had anyone there. Chet Yoder wants to know, Newcastle, like Wyoming? Yeah, because they have enough water in Newcastle, Wyoming for an oil tanker and a coal tanker to go sailing up. Coming up, yes, but it is Newcastle, but over in Australia. Coming up on 8:30, local news coming away after local news update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. Hey, you is Marbleton. Kayaks are also made with animal skin. Hey, you can kill animals and make kayaks. What about that? Don and Laramie. Those protesters also could have made their kayaks from traditional materials, seals or walrus skins or whale bones. Let's club some seals. That sounds perfect.
Download the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Listen anywhere and chat live with Glenn during the show on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, my name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Let's see, got all this set up? Yeah, I do. You ladies out there, you conservative women out there are going to like this next story. Ladies and gentlemen, your favorite song.
Well, I like guns, I like the way they look. I like the shiny steel and the polished wood. I don't care if they're big or small. If they're for sale, hell, I want them all. I like guns, I like guns, I like guns.
According to the story that I have in front of me, which is no big surprise at all, according to recent surveys, Republican women now own guns at a higher rate than Democrat men. You conservative women out there are more well-armed than Democrat men. A whopping 33% of Republican women own guns, although that's got to be a lot higher in Wyoming, compared to about 25% of Democrat men. Gun ownership among U.S. adults is holding steady so far. Well, I wonder, let me see. Gun ownership rates have spiked among Republican women. I do know whenever we get a Democrat in the White House, gun sales go up. As much as the rest of us wanted to see a conservative get into the White House and a conservative Congress, gun store owners prefer now and then, not constantly, but now and then, to have a liberal president and a liberal Congress because it makes sales skyrocket for a while. Then we got to go back to sensibility. So according to a 6-year grouping of Gallup's annual measurement of personal gun ownership since 2007 to today, the percentage of Republican women who own guns has increased from just a mere 19% up to 33% by 2024. I would say, again, that number's got to be higher in Wyoming. Democrat men, about 25% own guns. Let's see. Independent men, about 39% of independents men own guns. Republican men remain the most likely gun owners among gender and party affiliation at 60%, which I would say was probably a higher number in the state of Wyoming. While the gender gap has shrunk, the political party gap has expanded. Personal gun ownership rates differed by 16 points among Republicans. Basically, instead of going through all the different data, what it's saying is over the years, fewer and fewer liberal men own guns. More and more Republican men, more and more Republican women own guns. The model estimates that the statistical odds of a man owning a gun are 3.1 times greater than the odds of a woman owning a gun after tracking the variables. That compares with the odds ratio for men versus women when applying for the same model. Okay, gets into, again, all of the details here. And breaking it all down, I think, gives me a headache after a while. But then there's this little problem.
What's your biggest ick in a guy? Probably when they drive like a Tesla or any type of electric car. Why? I don't know. I'm not really like into feminine guys. You know, like they need to be masculine. And it's feminine to drive a Tesla? It's not very manly, like when your car doesn't make any noise.
Okay, now I want to ask this, though. I'm just tossing this question out there. So you see a guy who's sporting a man bun. What are the odds that he's a gun owner? Right. So you see a guy who's wearing a baseball cap properly. Okay, it's facing forward. The ball cap part, the visor, is facing forward, not at an angle. What are the odds that he owns a gun? All right. You see an electric vehicle driving down the road of any kind. Odds that that person is a gun owner. All right. You are in the grocery store and somebody walks by you wearing a COVID mask. Odds that that person is a gun owner. Okay. No, I do think what I'm doing here is, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I'm just saying I think that there's certain things you can look at and go, yeah, obviously this person's a gun owner, that person's not. You see a big pickup truck pull into a parking lot somewhere, and let's say it's a Walmart parking lot, and this big pickup truck is not for show. Obviously, it's been working. It's got the dents, the scratches, and the dust and so on to prove it. So does the guy getting out or the girl getting out. Odds that person's a gun owner. Pretty good, I would say. Okay. So you conservative women, especially out there in Wyoming, are among the highest rated. You have more guns than any liberal man out there, especially if he's sporting a man bun. So, now, you let me know if I'm wrong about that. Am I being a jerk about it? Am I wrong? I think I'm spot on. All right, next story for you. Biden administration spends $267 million on misinformation research. And to show you how good the research was, at no time did the misinformation research turn to look at the Biden administration and say, actually, the problem is you guys. The story says, since President Joe... Well, hang on a second now. I can go ahead and do this. Can I? Yeah, I think I can just go ahead and play the story for you. This is from Straight Arrow News.
Since President Biden took office, the Biden administration has spent over $267 million combating misinformation. That's according to a new report by the nonprofit Open the Books, described as a government transparency watchdog group.
Okay, hang on. So, she's got more here, but they spent all of that money, $267 million, combating misinformation. And yet it didn't seem to work because the amount of misinformation we got out of the Biden administration, the flat-out lies. The border is secure. The COVID lies. The lies. I mean, the list goes on. And then news media. They never went after news media in this study either. But all right, let's listen on.
This comes just as a major initiative under Trump's second administration is taking form. The Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, led by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, with the goal of cutting down on government waste. According to this new report, the $267 million spent on combating misinformation went to universities, nonprofits, and companies, with the biggest surge in 2021, $126 million spent studying and countering COVID-related speech at a time when public health officials were pushing COVID-related mandates during the pandemic.
So once again, you send a bunch of this money to universities in the hope that the universities will discover where the misinformation is coming from and how to deal with it. What the universities didn't do is bite the hand that feeds them. Because if the universities were honest, they would have turned and said to the Biden administration, actually, the greatest purveyors of misinformation on COVID was the Biden administration and the news media. Never went after them, no. All $267 million spent on this.
According to Open the Books, the Department of Health and Human Services spent the most money on misinformation research, curbing what it would deem as COVID misinformation. Other federal agencies that reportedly spent millions in grants to crack down on misinformation were the National Science Foundation, the State Department, and the Pentagon. Where the funds went? Largely to universities, according to the report. Some examples from the report included nearly $4 million to the City University of New York for what it called scientific studies on how people with anxiety and depression were impacted by vaccine misinformation online. According to the university's description of the project,
does this sound like to you as I'm playing this? Does this sound to you like they're going to get anywhere? Because what they're not doing is looking at themselves. But hang on, this story has a happy ending.
Misinformation on American politics and social polarization. The federal government also partnered with private companies. According to Open the Books, DHHS granted $300,000 to a tech firm, Milax Technologies, to monitor vaccine misinformation on social media. The Department of Homeland Security is listed as awarding over $1 million to Guidehouse.
Your government money at work. But hang on. Happy ending.
There's stark differences between how the Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration
Here you go.
Misinformation and the role of government in addressing it. According to Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, the Biden administration reached out to him on multiple occasions asking for Facebook to censor content it deemed as COVID misinformation. But President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to dismantle what he calls the censorship cartel of the federal government. On day one, Trump says he will issue an executive order banning federal agencies from collaborating with outside groups to censor or restrict speech.
See, told you it had a happy ending.
Got something to say? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
Frank Gambino is waiting by. So, okay, Frank, I found a few good ones. You know I like to collect stuff like this. Sometimes, it reads here, I forget how to spell a word, so I change the entire sentence to avoid using it. Ever done that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. See,
and it happens a lot.
Yeah, it does. And what I really hate, it's embarrassing. I get embarrassed in front of my computer. Spell check looks at me and says, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
We've never heard of that.
No, don't even know what you're going for there. I like this one. Dear Diary, my kids say they want a cat for Christmas. Normally I do a turkey, but if it makes them happy.
That's sick.
Now this one, as older men, we can relate to. What inspires you to get out of bed every day?
Mm-hmm.
My bladder, mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's about accurate.
Because remember, with older guys, the mind is the second thing to go. Men's college basketball, the Wyoming Cowboys in Cancun, Mexico today to meet Tulane from New Orleans in a tournament down there. Pokes are 4-1 with a 3-point win over Southeastern Louisiana back on Friday in Laramie, a game where neither team shot the ball all that well. Cowboys have got to get better from the free throw line. They were just at 57% in that Louisiana game, and they're going to play a lot better teams in January, so they're going to need every free throw they can get. Tulane is 4-2 after an overtime loss to New Orleans. This is the first meeting between these two schools in basketball in 42 years, and there'll be a 4 p.m. start from Cancun today. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KCGY in Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team in Puerto Rico for a tournament this week. They'll take on Drake on Thanksgiving Day at 11:30 Mountain Time. Cowgirls are 2-3 after a big victory over Colorado Christian back on Friday morning. After playing Drake on Thursday, the Cowgirls will meet Norfolk State on Friday and Virginia on Saturday. College football, the dreadful season for the Wyoming Cowboys will mercifully come to an end on Saturday with a road game at Washington State. Pokes are 2-9 this year and 1-5 at home after a 17-13 loss to nationally rated Boise State on Saturday in Laramie. It was a much better effort on defense, but the offense was stuck in neutral, especially after quarterback Caden Anderson went down with a head injury in the first half and did not return. Anderson is listed anywhere between doubtful and questionable this week, so it looks like Evan Swoboda will get another chance at the quarterback spot, and he's had a rough year. Washington State is 8-3, and they've lost back-to-back 3-point games to New Mexico and Oregon State, and the Cougars are favored by 17. That's a 4:30 start from Pullman on Saturday. We'll have that game for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. In junior college volleyball, Eastern Wyoming from Torrington went 2-0 in the national tournament in Clarksville, Tennessee. They lost to eventual national champion Southwest Florida and also lost to Weatherford, Texas. The Lancers did go 26-11 this past season and got a great year from their libero and Cheyenne grad Bowden Lilydall. Colby Candace finished third of that national tournament, and Madison Foley from Burns was a member of that team, and that's it in sports.
Okay, so have you selected your games for Thanksgiving? Or
well, the Bears are going to be on the first game, the Chicago Bears, and I don't want to watch them because they're going to lose to Detroit.
Yeah, but if you don't watch them, people will talk to you.
But what I'm going to try to do is I may have to sit and torture myself.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and I think the Green Bay Packers are playing on Thanksgiving Day, too, and we'd love to see them lose.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, I think the Dallas Cowboys always play on Thanksgiving, and I like to see them lose, but I think they're playing each other. And I think the Buffalo Bills are on Thursday also.
So the idea of there's a game that you really don't want to watch or talk to your relatives.
Well, I think you can actually do both.
Really?
You know, if they're watching the game, like with me, then somebody will say, you know what, that's a stupid play. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yes, okay. So now there's something common to talk about.
Yes.
You have common ground here.
I mean, as long as you stay away from, like, dumb subjects.
Yes.
You know, and you know what dumb subjects are.
Yes. Oh, I do that 4 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So stay away from that, and let's move on.
I can't talk to you about the games, but I can talk to you about the commercials.
Yes, you can.
Okay, very good.
Yes, you can.
Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. And then you and I again. It's Wake Up Wyoming. 9:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Tuesday, and I swear I can smell Thanksgiving from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Sweet and Spicy Toilet Paper.
No.
Because life is, well, you need, life needs... Okay, I don't know why you would need this.
Makes a great stocking stuffer, though.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. Okay, as I go through some of the other... I'm doing a lot of the house cleaning here because, it's a short week, and for a lot of people, this short week that we're having is a fake work week if you're at work at all, except for those people who have to work Black Friday. God bless you. God bless you all. It's a zombie apocalypse. All right, so some of the stories I want to get rid of here. Governor Gavin Newsom of California threatens to intervene if Trump kills Biden's $7,500 EV tax credit. Now, this is where I've said before, when it comes to electric vehicles, if you want one, you buy one. If that's what you think is a great vehicle, go for it. It's not my business what you like and what you buy. What is my business is when you're taking money from me to do it. So, no subsidies and no tax breaks. And these things are built on heavy subsidies and tax breaks to build them, and heavy tax breaks and subsidies to buy them, which those of us who drive the internal combustion engine don't get. So Trump wants to come along and just put an end to all of that, which is fine because the industry wasn't doing well anyway. As I've said before, you cannot build an artificial economy. It doesn't work that way. But okay, here's the story. Gavin Newsom is already planning pushback against President-elect Donald Trump's policies dealing with current administration energy pushes. Oh, by the way, Gavin Newsom wants that ban to stick in California where, what is it, by 2030, something like that? They're not going to allow new cars to be internal combustion engines sold at dealerships. New cars have to be electric in California. I think it's by 2030. But let's read on. President Joe Biden implemented a tax credit of $7,500 incentive to purchase the electric vehicles. It says greener vehicles here, but they're not greener vehicles. Trump is reportedly planning to axe the tax credit when he assumes office, sources told Reuters. Newsom, in a statement Monday, revealed that he will offer the same EV rebate for Californians if Trump doesn't. Quote, consumers continue to prove the skeptics wrong. Now, listen to this from Gavin Newsom, because this is where everything he's about to say is wrong. Zero emissions vehicles, pause. These are not zero emission vehicles. I know there's no emissions at the vehicle itself, but so what? In order to charge it, emissions are created. So it's not a zero emission vehicle. Zero emissions vehicles are here to stay. That's not true either. We will intervene if Trump administration eliminates the federal tax credit, doubling down on our commitment to clean air. It's not creating clean air for them. Green jobs. The jobs are not green. We're not turning back on a clean transportation future. Well, these vehicles are not going to give them a clean transportation future anyway, so we're going to make it more affordable. No, he's not. For people to drive vehicles that don't pollute, but those vehicles do pollute. But anyway, it's Gavin Newsom. He's no sense of reality. The story says the Golden State EV credits will be funded by relaunching the Clean Vehicle Rebate Program, which states electric car incentive programs that closed November 2023, according to a press release from the governor's office. I don't think that California has the money to do this. There's a lot of things that California wanted to do, but does not have the money to do. They're, really stinking broke. I mean, they're really broke. So once again, the governor wants to spend all sorts of money that honestly he doesn't have. Now, in the meantime, I think it's by 2030, I have to look that up again, that when you buy a new vehicle in California, you're only allowed to buy electric vehicles, which is one of the reasons that I want to open up that chain of retail stores along the California border.
Hey friends, do you find yourself living in California and able to buy less and less of the basic fun and necessities of life? Well, now you can. Shop free at will because of a new chain of stores opening up on the California border. It's Banned in California. Yes, Banned in California provides all the products that you're no longer allowed to buy inside the California border. Guys, have you been wanting to buy that new fur coat for the little lady? What about that massive, energy-guzzling, big-screen TV? You'll find it on sale now at Banned in California. Serious lawnmowers that get the job done and big SUVs. And yes, to keep those little kitties happy, get them a Happy Meal with extra trans fat in the food court, of course. And feel free to walk around and smoke inside while the little lady goes to the tanning bed. Yes, Banned in California, now located at every state location along the California border. Open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Illegal immigrants on staff to show you how to sneak back across the border with everything you've purchased.
In the meantime, along with that bit, a while ago, I wrote Crazy Larry's California car sales just because of Gavin Newsom.
Bayshore, Real 520, commercial number 18, a 60-second wild nighttime used car. Take one.
Do you like trucks? I'm talking big, diesel-powered, coal-rolling, noise-making, annoy your neighbors at 2 o'clock in the morning kind of trucks. Old tires bouncing down the highway. Yeah, the bigger the carbon footprint, the better, I'm saying. Hey, everybody, this is Crazy Larry, and I'm wheeling and dealing. Well, if that's what you like, if I got the deal for you, with my vehicles, you don't talk miles per gallon. You talk gallons per mile. Now I know what you're thinking. Hey, Larry, this is California. New sales of the internal combustion engine will be illegal in this state by 2035. Not to worry. Hey, see this big bad boy right here? She identifies as a Tesla. And this big-tired, diesel-powered monstrosity, well, that's a Nissan Leaf. Pink in color. That's right. Once something self-identifies as something else, you can't take it back. So come on down and buy whatever the hell you want. Then just tell the state of California that it identifies as whatever the hell they want. That's right. Here at Crazy Larry's Auto Sales, we found a loophole.
Okay, so Tim in Casper says, if they're here to stay, why do they need subsidies? Great point. Yeah, if everybody wants, because Newsom is saying this is what the consumers want, then why do you need such heavy subsidies? Oh, partly because they cost so much anyway? Yeah. But no, sales of these things are, in fact, many, as you know, auto manufacturers that said, we're going to go all electric are not even going partly electric anymore because the entire, most of the electric economy, if you will, is collapsing right now. It's just not what people want. It's an artificial economy. Oh, by the way, before I move on from California, you guys helped me write something a while ago, and I don't get that much of a chance to play it, but it's really good. Remember one day I turned and said, we need to take the Beverly Hillbillies song, where the Beverly Hillbillies, Uncle Jed strikes oil, and everybody tells him you need to move to California. That would not work today. The story would work in reverse.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed, a poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed. Then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground came a bubbling crude. Now he's a rich white guy living in Beverly Hills. Liberals, Botox, hypocrites, gun control. Well, the first thing you know, they tax his underwear. Kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there. Said, California is the place you need to leave. So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Tennessee.
So there you go. That's one of many things you guys helped me write this year, and I think the guy who voiced that did just a fantastic job.
Is your life boring? Are you too young for a midlife crisis, but tired of waiting for something to trigger an existential crisis? Why not try generalized anxiety disorder? Make every day a crisis.
He's not a politician, but his pants are on fire. Could someone grab an extinguisher? Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
9:21's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming, long as I was on the electric vehicle rant. Let me give you an idea of why so many people, you already know why, you don't need me to tell you this, but why so many people are leaving the obsolete legacy media. So, here first off, someone on Twitter, or X if you will, writes, big automakers want to ask Trump to keep Biden's EV mandates in place. Customers don't want the cars, but the companies have already sunk so much money into EVs to comply with federal regulations. Now, they don't want to compete with gas cars. Yeah, that's the thing. And how many billions of dollars has Ford, for example, lost in the EV marketplace despite all the subsidies they've gotten? And, all right, now, so the New York Times is going to report on this, right? Perfect example of why so many people have just given up on the obsolete, irrelevant legacy media. This is how they face it. They write, Mr. Trump has railed against the EV rules, which strictly limit the amount of tailpipe pollution while also ramping up fuel economy standards. All right, now, again, tailpipe emissions, so what? That just moves the emissions down the road to somewhere else. You're still polluting, except for the CO2. That's not pollutant. All right, so they write, they are designed to get car makers to produce more EVs and have been the cornerstone of President Biden's fight against climate change, which, of course, all that Biden has done what to stop climate change? You can't stop climate change. It's a natural thing. But all right, reading on. This is where they really get bad. Mr. Trump sees them differently. He has falsely said, now realize this is a New York Times article. Mr. Trump sees it differently. He has falsely said the rules amount to a Democratic mandate that would prevent Americans from buying the gasoline-powered cars of their choice, a concern of his campaign donors from the oil company. That's how New York Times reports it. Rather than just saying, look, consumers are not, despite all the tax breaks and subsidies, most people are not buying electric cars for various reasons. And almost half the people, in fact, I would say about half, that have purchased electric vehicles said they wouldn't do it again. But this is New York Times. Let me finish what they wrote. And Mr. Trump still holds grievances against some of the automakers whom he views as having betrayed him because during his first term they supported Obama-era auto emissions rules. Well, they supported Obama-era auto emissions rules because, well, they got a lot of subsidies to do so and tax breaks to do so, not for economic reasons. But okay, let's take a look at some of the words that the New York Times have thrown in there. Grudge, grievance, revenge, falsely said. Oh, and they try to, well, it's the oil industry that's really doing all of this. This is typical New York Times rhetoric for you, which is, if you were reading this as a newspaper, did that sound like an opinion piece to you or a news story? Right, you already know the answer to that. So if you wanted a news story, I don't know about you, I go somewhere else because I look at that and think that's an opinion piece. If you want to write something like that and put it in the opinion section, go for it. But that's not a news story. But that's New York Times for you, which used to be, I don't know when, but at some point was considered a great newspaper. But they're like many other obsolete legacy media. They've been hemorrhaging readers for a very long time. So at some point, they'll go out of business, like MSNBC is going to end up going out of business. All right, now, one more thing on electric vehicles. In the next segment, I'll do something different. But motorway driving in an electric vehicle can cost twice as much as a petrol car. I said petrol, so you know. I'm not talking about here in the United States. The UK Telegraph, monitoring correspondent Andrew English is his name, good name for a guy, writing about driving Ford's Mustang Mach-E, the electric Mustang, has noticed some things. He said, the first thing I learned during 11,000 miles in the Mach-E was that it wasn't a proper Mustang. Secondly, if you regularly cover high mileage in an EV, You need to travel when everyone else isn't there to avoid getting in long queues for charging. It looked as though he didn't have much planning on this, some people said, for his trip. But this guy decided to do 11,000 miles over time. He said, I'm glad my boss will be doing this next week so he can see what it's like. Because he had to write an article about this. And he found out driving the electric vehicle not only cost him more time, but cost him more money. He said, the thing that drives me crazy is that people who say stay on the charger for more than 100% of the charge. It's virtually impossible to achieve that. It's like trying to achieve light speed. The closer you get to it, the harder it is to get to it. And the same thing when charging an electric vehicle. The closer you get to 100%, the harder it is to get to 100%. He says he looks enviously at rows of Tesla charges. They tend to do a bit better. He said, took 45 minutes to charge. I plugged in the Ford, unwrapped a bacon sandwich, and just sat there and waited. There was a sharp tap at the window. The charge was somebody saying, you're going to try to charge the whole thing? Just get it up to, like 60% and go. And then again, charging it, he started noticing what the bill was going to be for this. And notice that if you're thinking you're saving money with an electric vehicle, no. The cost of charging an electric vehicle, it would be much cheaper just to drive a gas-powered vehicle, plus there's less time waiting. So again, this is one of the many reasons why people are saying that, sorry, these electric vehicles are not ready yet. They're not. That's why most EV owners are saying they wouldn't buy another one. And yet, if you don't want one of these things, if you want the internal combustion engine, well, you're just ignorant and evil. By the way, I have a story for you coming up next on somebody who thinks that you're just the reason you voted for Trump is because you're just ignorant and evil and stupid and misinformed. But they voted for Harris because they were the smart people. Hang on, I'll explain that next, coming up on 9:30. Local news coming your way after a local news update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it. Wake up, Wyoming.
30. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, on air, online, and on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is K2 Radio.
Wake Up Wyoming. Just so you know, tomorrow's Wake Up Wyoming, since we get into a holiday, I tend to have very few actual news stories, and I get more into nonsense and garbage, especially how to win a food fight at your house during Thanksgiving. Got to play the turkey drop from WKRP in Cincinnati. Yes, the Rush Limbaugh speech on Thanksgiving, as he tells the true history of Thanksgiving. And got to do that. Many people have asked for that. I always have to tell my neti pot story, even though people constantly ask me to not, but I always will. Things like that, just to help you get through the day before Thanksgiving, which is not a show that's traditional news and talk and stuff like that. All right, so real quick here, there's this actor who has an opinion about you. I know, right? Whenever I see stuff like that, I think I'm not even going to bother with talking about this on the air because it's just nonsense, and I don't care what these actors. This guy's Alec Baldwin. I know you don't care. But this, I thought was really kind of funny. Alec Baldwin believes that Americans, you, have a misunderstanding of the world's most pressing problems. The reason for this, he explained in a recent event, is that they're uneducated and led astray by mass media. Well, hold on. Who's in charge of mass media? Yeah, that would be your CNNs, your MSNBCs, and your New York Times, your Hollywood types. And so if anyone's misinforming you, it's okay, but reading on. The 66-year-old Rust actor, remember that one? He recently got a Lifetime Achievement Award. Of course he did. Okay. Commented on media's influence in reporting the news, which, by the way, they suck at. And, quote, the television news in the United States is a business. They have to make money, Baldwin said during a press conference. He added, there's a whole vacuum. There's a gap, if you will, in informing Americans. Now, I don't think he's wrong about that. Television news is not news anymore. It's talk television. It's opinion. He continued, Americans are very uninformed about reality. Oh, and you are, Alec. With what's really going on, he says. With climate change, Ukraine, Israel, you name it, the biggest topics in the world, Americans have an appetite but little information. He's absolutely right, but he's on the wrong side of this discussion. He really is. Because the news media organizations out there have what kind of a slant? Yeah. They're misinformed because they're not actually telling the real story. Baldwin believes that the film industry, which he's part of, plays a role as well. He's correct about that. A lot of bias in the film industry. He says the vacuum is filled by the film industry, not just independent film industry, not just a documentary film industry, which is very important around the world, but narrative films as well, where the filmmakers and the buyers and the studios and the networks and the streamers are willing to get away. Well, they're not even willing to try to inform you, he said. Yeah, okay. Well, the fact of the matter is, and I can talk a lot about what Alec Baldwin is saying that is correct, is that American people don't get a whole lot of information out of Hollywood or the news media. You've been fed garbage, which is why you went to alternative news sources in this last election cycle and turned away from Hollywood as well. Hollywood is struggling and the news industry is struggling because of the garbage they've been feeding you, and I think the American people are pretty much sick of it, which is what Alec Baldwin doesn't see. All right, now, one last thing. And again, tomorrow is mostly nonsense, but all right. Update. The Scottish Supreme Court will determine what a woman is. Yeah, I know. You and I already know. I'm sure this story says will be a precedent-setting ruling. I mean, how can it not be, considering that even reportedly brilliant legal minds have raised the question to find out for themselves, this question. And so, let's see, a weak-knees Supreme Court over there in Scotland. They have, and of course, they have nothing resembling free speech over there. It's a whole bunch of DEI, but okay. Everyone in Britain is protected by the Equal Act, the Equality Act. The protected characteristics under the Act are age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage, civil partnership, pregnancy, race, religious belief, sex, sexual orientation, unless, of course, you happen to disagree, in which case you're in big trouble because you didn't agree with what the official narrative tells you that you're supposed to think. So with this in the Equality Act, they haven't figured out what to do with gender reassignment surgery. And what's there on your birth certificate, what a biological male or a biological female is. So because of all the laws they have over there about what you're allowed to think and say, they have decided to go ahead and just take it to court and let the court figure out what a woman is. Right. So I don't know about you, but I don't need a court telling me. I just went by science and biology. That's what I'm going by, and I don't really care what the court and the government says. But you're talking about over there in Scotland and part of the UK and so on, in which case that's a government that likes to tell you what to think. So whatever the ruling is what the people are going to have to go with, unless they used to be a free country over there. Not anymore. Kirk and Cheyenne Glen, is this Alex uneducated on firearm safety? Yeah, the same guy. The same guy who's uneducated on firearm safety. Yes, the same guy. Chet and Yoder, hopefully he stays in Italy. Is that where, you're talking about Alex Baldwin? Is that where he is right now? Okay. Alex Baldwin has no business preaching about reality to anybody, honestly. Coming up at 9:43, wake up.
Wake up, Wyoming. Glenn Woods is live on AM 1030 K2 Radio and the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
9:48 is the time. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, I just accidentally came across a video of two people playing tennis on ice. Wait a second. Let me make sure I have over there. Right, there, and then here. And then I said that, but I don't hear Frank. Okay.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. Okay,
Can you hear me now?
I was about to play. Yes, but you're in Studio 6 right now. Okay. It's two people. They're playing tennis. It looks like a tennis court, but it's ice.
Are they on skates?
Yes.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
Wow, that would be really hard to stop right in the baseline there.
Really? But they're doing a really good job because they know how to ice skate. We suck. But they are actually very good ice skaters.
They're probably either from Minnesota, North Dakota, or Canada.
Something like that, yeah.
Or the UP.
Okay. And I wonder, is it because, let me see, Rob Warling, don't know who that is, extreme cross skater, no wonder, who created Wimbledon on ice.
Okay, and how long will it last?
Yeah,
I've seen crazy ideas like, this is going to be the next big thing, and then nobody plays.
Remember basketball with trampolines?
Yeah.
It was interesting to watch just once. Then I really didn't want to see it anymore because I get it. You're on trampolines playing basketball. I get it.
Yeah.
What else do they do? I mean,
unless they vault over the backboard.
Yes, or something like that.
And then crash, and then people are like, oh.
Yeah, okay. Someone's always, in most cases, I look at different sports and I think it's the same thing. Like, for example, when they play, what is that, polo in the water? What is that? In
water polo?
Water polo, yeah. Isn't that basically just tennis, but you're swimming? Or volleyball, but in the water?
Yeah, volleyball in the water.
And what is volleyball? It's tennis.
And like badminton.
Yeah, badminton's
hit ball
the same
over
thing.
the net back and forth until it falls on the ground.
Okay, what is cricket? Baseball.
In a way, yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. Rugby is a different version of football.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, so basically...
Without pads and more liquor.
Right, yeah. Oh, a lot more liquor, yeah. And a lot more pain, too, it looks to me, yeah. So I've noticed that most sporting events are the same thing, and every so often somebody tries to throw in something new, which I understand, but I look at it and think, but aren't you just trying to take a sport that you got bored with and add something new to it, which isn't going to last?
No, it won't last.
No, it is. Okay.
No. But you know what? I'll give them 2 points for trying.
Sure. Because it comes with points because it's a sport.
Yeah, and it's in tennis. So over there. Men's college basketball, the Wyoming Cowboys in Mexico and Cancun to meet Tulane from New Orleans later on this afternoon. Pokes have won 4 out of 5 after a 3-point win over Southeastern Louisiana back on Friday in Laramie, a game where neither team shot the ball all that well. The Pokes have got to get better from the free throw line as the level of competition they will play in January will be significantly better than what their non-conference slate offers. Tulane is 4-2 on the year after an overtime loss to New Orleans their last time out. This is the first meeting between these two schools in basketball in 42 years. It'll be a 4 p.m. start from Cancun today, and we'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KCGY in Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team will be in Puerto Rico for a tournament this week, and they'll take on Drake on Thanksgiving Day at 11:30 in the morning Mountain Time. The Cowgirls are 2-3 after a big win over Colorado Christian back on Friday morning. After playing Drake on Thursday, the Cowgirls will play Norfolk State on Friday and Virginia on Saturday. College football, this dreadful season for the Wyoming Cowboys will mercifully come to an end on Saturday with a road game at Washington State and Pullman. Cowboys are 2-9. They went 1-5 at home this season after a 17-13 loss to nationally rated Boise State on Saturday in Laramie. It's a much better effort on defense than we've seen previously from this group, but the offense was stuck in neutral, especially after quarterback Caden Anderson went down with a head injury in the first half and didn't return in the second half. Anderson is listed anywhere from doubtful to questionable this week, so it looks like Evan Swoboda will get another chance, and he has just endured a terrible year. Washington State is 8-3. They have lost back-to-back 3-point games, one to New Mexico and the other to Oregon State. And the Cougars are favored by 17 in the game. That is a 4:30 start from Pullman on Saturday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. JUCO volleyball, Eastern Wyoming from Torrington went 2-out at the national tournament in Clarksville, Tennessee last week. They lost to eventual national champion Southwest Florida and Weatherford, Texas. Lancers did finish the season at 26-11. They got a great season from the Libero and Cheyennes grad Bowdoin Lilydale. Colby, Kansas finished third at the national tournament, and Madison Foley from Burns was a member of that team. And that's it in sports.
Okay. So just so you know, tomorrow's program, the stuff that I regularly do, which you never listen to anyway because you're busy, it's just going to be pretty much nonsense. I got to play the WKRP turkey drop.
Well, of course.
I have to every single year.
You thought that turkeys could fly.
No, yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah, as God is my witness.
As God is your witness.
That, and I always tell people the story that the audience begs me never to tell, but I always tell it, and they listen anyway, and that's the neti pot story.
The who?
Yeah. Oh, you haven't heard the neti pot story?
I can't wait for this one.
Yes, it's just horrible. It's a horrible story. It's a Thanksgiving story. It happened at Thanksgiving, but it makes everybody just not want to eat ever again.
Was this a pilgrim thing?
No, it's something that actually happened with my family.
Oh.
You know what a neti pot is?
No.
Okay, yeah, that when you find out, you know this is going to go bad real fast.
I do know somebody whose Thanksgiving dinner went awry and they had to call the fire department.
Oh, really? I might want to get in on that story too. Okay, I'll try to remember to ask you about that.
There you go.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Frank. And by the way, folks, we have Thanksgiving off, so this show will be a repeat. And then on Friday we have off as well, so a second repeat there. So we're taking time off just like the rest of you guys are. But tomorrow's show is live. It's just nonsense. That's all. It's Wake Up Wyoming.